this time, Martin Odegaard.
Zinchenko from Ketty, it's four. Martinelli tiptoeing in. Predatory, perfect. There is a gorgeous arrogance about Arsenal now.
It really is. They are enjoying every second of this.
Hello and welcome to Not Another Arsenal Podcast, aka the Hector Bellerin of Arsenal Podcast. My name is Mike Hers, your host. Today, Chris, we are going to do a little bit of a preview for the upcoming season. We're going to do a little bit of a twist, if you will. I don't see this a lot in with our European counterpoints. It's more of a gambling addict American type of thing to go in the over and the unders on certain things. So we pinpointed a few players. We're going to discuss the majority of them league starts, whether we think it's going to be above or below a number. Dowman, we're going to make a special exception and just make appearances. Then we're going to talk a little bit about our goal records, our clean sheets, our points, and of course, individual players who scores the most. We're going to keep this as Arsenal-centric as possible. So if you are, by any chance, tuning in minute 30, and we're talking about the highest scorer, and we say it's going to be, whoever, Mikel Merino playing as striker for the Arsenal. We do understand that Salah and Erling Haaland do exist, but we are going to concentrate solely and only on the Arsenal until we actually start talking about the Cups, top four, and relegation and whatnot. First and foremost, as always, as I like to start off the game, Chris, welcome back.
What's going on, Mike? Two-man pod again tonight because our dear mate Kelly is living it up in South Florida with his family. So shout out to Kelly. He did send us some of his own predictions, which is great. So we might represent some of his perspective tonight. But yeah, Friday night. This is a weird one for us, isn't it, Mike? We usually pod Tuesday, Wednesdays, on a rare occasion Thursdays. But Friday night, I mean, the day of the opener in the Premier League with quite an exciting game today. I'm not sure if you saw it, but Liverpool versus Bournemouth. Lots of action, not a lot of defense. Some good goals. It's getting me excited for the weekend against United. But today we're going to talk about the season, our predictions, less so about United. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about United. But I like this pod because this is where the peak of our optimism is, right, Mike? Like, this is where we come into a season where the hope is definitely going to kill us. And we eventually get it strangled from us over the course of the months that come ahead of us. But right now, it's all vibes, it's all fun, it's all expectation, and this is where we can dream about glory that may or may never come.
Respectfully, Chris, speak for yourself, okay? After those non-penalty calls in the Liverpool game, I'm already doom and gloom, my friend.
That's
right?
Good point.
I'm ready to give.
Don't get me started on a PGMOL rant, Mike. This is not the pod for that.
This is not the pod for that. Okay, I'll behave. Before we get into all the predictions, Chris, we were chatting a little bit that we didn't do a Tuesday podcast, so we didn't really recap on the last game of preseason, which ended on a high, 3-0 versus Athletic Bilbao. Of course, the scoring of the brilliant header that came from Victor Gyökeres, a beautiful pass from Zubimendi. We didn't have a opportunity, so I'm gonna say, like, in balance, Chris. How did you feel about the preseason? A few highs, a few lows. I know there was a few results that people didn't really care for, but like I said, ended on a high. We saw our starting 11, which was kind of what we were thinking it was going to happen after the Spurs game. That was our solid starting 11. We played really good. We continued with our exclusive plan A, but our plan A looks substantially better when you actually have the pieces of the puzzle in there. It kind of starts falling apart a little bit when you start yanking pieces out. But we looked impressive, if I do say so myself. But there's the early season optimism. What is your take on this?
Yeah, I think the preseason really highlighted the importance of a few players that are going to be central and critical to how I think we want to play. We talked about this, and I think on the last pod, maybe the 2 pods ago, I didn't understand the starting midfield we started with against Villarreal. Sorry, I get those two mixed up sometimes. where we played a very, very functional kind of physical midfield that really isn't a great passing midfield with Gyökeres in front of them. And that's not the kind of midfield you want to play against a guy who's going to make a lot of runs in behind. And then, of course, we played, I think, what will end up being our starting midfield for most of the season, maybe all the season in the last game. And we looked miles better with Gyökeres in front. So I think Zubimendi's a real linchpin to how we play this season. I mean, you can already tell based on the last game. I think Arteta kind of loosened the handbrake a little bit. I think he let loose some of our tactics that we're going to try and do this season. I think we're going to be a lot more adventurous in transition. I think we're going to be a lot more direct in transition, and Zubimendi is a big part of that, given his ability to read the game, his feel for tempo, his ability to make a pass through the lines from deep, and also his ability to simplify the role that our captain has, which has been in years past to drop deep, to run around a lot, to collect the ball, to get the ball to the pitch, to be our creative hub once we get it up the pitch. I'm hoping that the arrival of Zubimendi is going to simplify his role so that he can stay higher. He can be a bit more of a collect the ball in the final third, distribute it, find openings, find gaps, find Gyökeres is going to, I think, do a lot of running for us, which I think will be really important. So I think Zubimendi is a really important one that I think we've learned to love really quickly in this squad. At least I have. Obviously, Gyökeres is going to make us play differently from a number 9 perspective because he's going to demand the ball in very different ways than Havertz will. I think he loves to run into space and collect the ball versus Havertz is more or less, at least in years past, more of a come deep to get the ball to feet kind of player. Now, having said that, I'm not sure you saw, Mike, today, the video of Havertz in training. He was sprinting, I think, with Gabriel for a ball, and he looks. I mean, if you put Gyökeres's head on Kai's body in that video, the guy would have known, because he looked very much like a player who is quicker, stronger. He looks like he's striking the ball better. So perhaps what we're seeing here too with the arrival of Gyökeres is a Havertz who has renewed motivation to compete for that role. I think, for maybe the first time since he's joined Arsenal, because since he's joined Arsenal and kind of played that striker role, Gabriel Jesus really hasn't been fit to compete with him. So I think he's getting that competitive juice flowing with the Gyökeres, who is very much a number 9, and adding I think levels to his game. So I think that's going to be a really interesting aspect to watch in the season, and I'm going to enjoy watching. I think his goal against Athletic Bilbao in the last game was also, I think, maybe a sign of things to come. Maybe again a new notch in his belt, a new way of him playing. So I think that will be really interesting. And I think the left wing, I think, is going to be an ongoing conversation that we're going to have, and I'm sure we'll have tonight, around how do we get the most out of that side, not just from perspective of who plays left wing, but also maybe who plays left back, and maybe even who plays left 8 from time to time. So I think those are the talking points from preseason. The last game, I think, did a lot to renew all of our hope in terms of maybe what we can expect this season, and that it's not going to be a slog like many times it was last season. I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot more direct play, a lot more quick play up the pitch, a lot like what we saw between Bournemouth and Liverpool this season, but without the defensive fragility that I think we saw from those two teams today. So yeah, all in all, encouraging, but it doesn't mean anything until we see it in a game that matters. And boy, does this game matter. First game of the season against United at Old Trafford. Couldn't have started a season with too much of a bigger game than a game at Old Trafford. So what about you, Mike? What do you think about preseason? How did you feel after the last game? Did you feel more hopeful? What did you notice, in the way we played, especially that last game, that maybe gives you some confidence going into the season?
I finally got a glimpse of what everybody was talking to me about Zubimendi as far as moving the ball forward a little bit faster. As again, I've said this in the past, I have zero issues whatsoever saying, hey, I'm not familiar with the player, right? So I could go off of Twitter vibes, and then from there, I just have to wait until I actually see him play. So I think we look substantially better getting the ball forward with him in our midfield. As you said, I'm hoping it will simplify Odegaard's, who has been under a lot of scrutiny the last 24 hours and during preseason. But captain, my captain, I'm hoping that his defensive duty lightens up a little bit with the inclusion of Zimbavendi. I did notice, I tweeted about this just because I always like to say that I'm not ever completely firm on my beliefs. I'm not a believer of like saying, okay, this player is bad now and he's going to be bad forever. I did catch a few glimpses of the whole Gyökeres occupying the left-hand flank and Martinelli running, making those central runs, because he was pivoting his runs and running into the box, and because of it, he found himself with shooting opportunities or crossing opportunities. So it was strange because I'm so used to him being so stretched out all the way to the back, right, running down the touchline, and then either ultimately losing possession or whipping it across that, results into not a whole lot of stuff. So kind of cashing him in there, I was reminded of a conversation that I had with Kelly, like literally 2-3 seasons of this podcast ago, in which we said that Martinelli was a little bit of a shot monster, which he had a high shot output. He would shoot whenever he had the opportunity. In the last few seasons, he hasn't really had the opportunity to get himself in positions where a shot made sense, but this game really allowed it. And I don't know if it's by design or it's just Gyökeres' game, where a lot of his highlights in Sporting was from the left. Like he just naturally drifts out there. Martinelli understood the assignment and he started drifting inwards. And I thought it's just something optimistic for me to hold on. Okay. We saw the last 2 games on Dwecky came in on the left, right? And so you talked about competition between Gyökeres and Kai. I'm sure he understands there's competition. If he felt any strain whatsoever having Trossard, rightfully, in my opinion, he should feel strain having Trossard, because Trossard is a fairly reliable player. Now with the inclusion of Madueke in the 2 preseason games, I don't think he's played on the right yet. He's only played exclusively on the left, which nobody suggested he was going to do, right? Everybody exclusively said 50 million or 40 million, whatever he costs, on a Saka backup makes 0 sense. And here we are, he's taking that spot on the left. So interesting to see how Martinelli develops with that. I'm assuming he's going to stay for this season, but it's something optimistic to look at. I was a little surprised, but again, a little bit of fitness thing, I assume, is the Calafiore and the left back thing starting over there. I'm generally curious to see the battle of the left backs, because we got 2 players of very high different profile. I don't think anybody's going to be like disappointed seeing one or the other between Miles and Calafiore, but I am kind of curious to see who wins that battle. I mean, I kind of feel like most of the time when it comes to Arteta, it comes down to what the hell you're doing in training. But who knows? We might do this thing where we rotate players sometimes. That would be cool, right? Imagine that. Could never be my manager. So yeah, all in all, man, not to be like too much of a homer, man, but really optimistic. It's nice seeing a fully fit squad. And it's nice seeing that when we, like halftime of the 70-minute mark, we made 5-6 changes. It was 5-6 really recognizable players and names changes. And we spoke about this, and I'm going to like put a little bow on the transfer window here. Not to be pessimistic. I don't know anything about, what's the line? I know shit about fuck. The rumors for Rodrigo are dying down, and matter of fact, they're heating up a little bit more for Manchester City. The rumors of Eze, the last 48 hours or so, we haven't heard anything. Rumors is potentially he goes to Spurs, but it seems like our interest is dying down because of the contract extension for Ethan Ranieri. I don't know whether you choose to believe that or not, but this is what I'm going to say for the transfer window. Currently, Arsenal did substantially more than I thought they were going to, and they've done a fantastic job raising our floor, and I think that is an undisputable fact. You could definitely want more, but to say that going into this season we're not substantially better off than last season, I think it's disingenuous. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I would, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's I'm getting the positivity, I'm getting all the vibes, and that is what I'm going to run with, and that's what I'm going to go with. Are you ready to get into this previewing stuff?
I so badly want to double down on a few things you said, but I think we'll get into that when we get into our predictions. So I'll save it. I don't want to ruin my own thunder.
Okay. You don't want to get repetitive. So we're going to do the over-under thing, and we're going to start off with actual league we're going to separate this slightly because we got Max Dowman in his own special little bracket because we're going to judge him based on appearances. But these is exclusively league starts and exclusively league. So we're not counting about the Champions League. We're not talking about League Cups or anything. Chris is going to be kind of live updating us. I really hope that you got the Kelly picks. If not, I could look up as we go, Chris. But I'm going to let you get the ball rolling on this one. We're starting off top to bottom on our list that we agreed on. By the way, live chat and dear listener, this is just numbers that Chris and I went back and forth on, looking at a few things that, a few appearances that they did last season, the position that we think they have within the squad, and we just kind of base these numbers loosely on that. Live chat, I would absolutely love for you guys to play along. Chris, first question for you is Ethan Nwaneri. I got him at 5.5 league starts. Are you taking the over or the under in that one?
It's a good one. I remember us having a very similar conversation last year about Nwaneri. Remember, he kind of came on the scene. He was kind of the guy that everybody was excited about, a lot like what Max Dowman is this preseason. A guy that everybody was really excited to see what he would do, what kind of role he would play. I think we were guessing over under in terms of minutes, and I think I put it at something like 700. And I think the two of you went under, and I said over, not realizing that we would have an injury crisis where we would need him to play a ton of minutes. I think last season he played 903 minutes in the league. He had 28 appearances. He played, a little bit. Did he play Champions League? I can't remember. I think he did. He's 7 appearances, 2 goals, 221 minutes. So he played a lot more than we all ever expected. Now, having said that, since last season, Nwaneri, well, we've added more talent to the squad. Maybe not necessarily in the areas that he plays in, because I think medium to long term, he's likely going to be an interior player. He's going to be a attacking central midfielder. I think he's likely going to be a guy that backs up Odegaard and rotates with him. He may come on the wing on occasion, but I think when we're fully fit, I don't know that that's his primary deputy role. So when we look at starts over under 5.5, unless we have a, and this is league starts, unless we have a real injury crisis like we had last season, I think it's going to be just under. I think we are likely to play our starting midfield of Odegaard in the right 8, Rice in the left 8, and Zubimendi at the base, which I think means that when we've got the game well in hand, or maybe when Odegaard needs a break, and on occasion, on games where we can afford to rest our captain, I think Nwaneri is going to start, but I don't know that will be more than 5 games. So I'll say just under. I think he'll probably be something like 5 starts, but I think it's going to be very close. How about you, Mike? What do you think about Nwaneri?
Excuse me while I choke on my drink over here, Chris. Same here. Look, again, man, and it kind of leads into a very hot topic type of conversation that we had a little bit earlier because of the comments of Tony Adams saying that he would strip Odegaard from the captaincy and give it to Declan Rice, who's a real leader and whatnot. Then Mikel Arteta did the very kind thing to come out. They questioned him, and I think he was locked and loaded and prepared and said, "Hey." He asked the players, and the players voted for him in a landslide. He won by a mile. I think it's one of those. He's one of the 5 players within our squad that I think if he fits, he's played. And we're playing this game based on health. So unfortunately for Ethan Nwaneri, I think he's going to get a lot more loved in the cup games. I think he's going to get a lot of appearances, which is not what we're doing here. We're doing actual league starts. Because of that, I'm taking the under on this one.
Yeah, I think he's still. You have to remember, while he does have quite a few minutes for a guy that's 18, I think last season was a season we weren't planning on giving him as many minutes as he had. I mean, he played almost 1,200 minutes for us across all appearances, across all competitions. It seems like he's grown up a bit over the summer. Since the last time we saw him in the preseason, he looks a little taller. He looks quite a bit stronger. I think that will serve him well. But I think if we're going to look after him, and also because I don't think we have to force him into unnecessary appearances or even minutes or even starts. I think for that reason, the club will be as cautious as they can with him, and so I tend to agree. Have you looked up Kelly's prediction on this one? Do you have it, Mike? Or
Yeah. Ever since we became the Hector Bellerin of the podcast, he's been overly optimistic as of lately. I'm looking at his notes. He said over.
wow,
Look at
he's
this.
not here to defend that. So what I'm going to say is I think it's also quite suspicious that since we became the Hector Bellerin of Arsenal podcast, he hasn't shown up to the pod. So
Yes.
I'm not sure what that
We
says.
lost him.
Exactly. We know how much he loves the Hector Bellerin. So
Shocker for Kelly there. Actually, I'm a little shocked, to be completely honest.
here's the thing. Here's one last thing to say about this, Mike. And Ryan says it in the chat. We're signing Eze, so easy under. The rumors is that we're not signing Eze because we re-signed Winery, and that the rumor is we had Eze lined up in case we couldn't get Winery to re-sign, and that we had to sell him or let him go or play hardball, whatever the case might be. You could make a case or an argument because of that, because we are not signing Eze, because we're not signing more creative midfielders, because we signed Winery, that he might get more starts than we imagine. I just think it's going to end up being more minutes and appearances, as you said, Mike, than it is starts. But if someone wanted to say over like Kelly did, that might be the argument they might make. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds. Again, outside of injuries in the league, I just don't know where he plays, where he starts, and plays significant minutes as a starter, other than taking Odegaard's role. Unless Odegaard really struggles, I just don't see that happening. So, Mike, let's talk about that left side. We talked about Calafiori a little bit in the context of preseason. I think this is going to be a really fascinating discussion right now, but also throughout the course of the season, because I think Calafiori is one of those players that injects a bit of chaos into how we play. He's almost like a left winger that plays from left back, or inverted left back, if you will. You could almost easily see him playing a sort of left wing role just by the way he plays. He loves gallivanting into the center of the pitch. He loves wandering around. He loves finding open space and dribbling into it and then finding a pass. I mean, he's so technical for a defender that you can't help but be excited about what he brings to this side from an attacking perspective. And yet he's also quite a good defender as well, especially inside the box. He's a big lad. He's got quick feet, generally speaking, maybe not the quickest in acceleration, but he gives you a lot going forward and he gives you stability in the back. What do you think about Calafiori this season and also his league starts? We have the over under at 18.5. So basically just under half of the league starts at any given position. What do you think over under, Mike? And what do you think about Calafiori?
So ironically, I did say that at the beginning of this, we were judging this like, hey, as if everybody was fit, free of suspensions and whatnot. But I'm going to be a negative Nancy here because of his injury record, Chris. I'm a person that thinks that healthy Calafiori could play plus. We got it at 18.5, right? 18.5. I could see him playing more than 19 games in the league, even giving Gabriel a rest. But because I have an absolute zero chance of like imagining this man not getting injured. Because when is the League Cup final? Because I assume we're going to win the League Cup final, right? And then I could picture him trying to lift the medal and somehow like straining his shoulder or some shit and missing the rest of the. So he'll be out since February, I think, more or less, if we're not mistaken.
How many starts can he get in before February starts?
Before February, I like that. No, you know what, dude? I think he's going to end up being. Hey, you could put says under, and you could put 12 in the notes. Just put on the notes. I'm aiming closer to 12 for Calafiori, and because of that, I'm gonna get 18. I'm gonna go on the under on this one. I like that, but in parentheses, we're really committing to these. Chris, while you answer, I just want to let you know I'm gonna be gone for a split second because I forgot, as you can see, the darkness prevailing over me. I forgot to turn on my overhead light, so I will be right back. Have your shot at.
Yep. You're on mute, Mike, for some reason. It's all good. Calafiori. Yeah, let's talk about Calafiori because I think in what we have in terms of fullbacks at Arsenal are two very different profiles, both on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. With Calafiori, you've got a guy who's, I think, a better, probably a attacking left back, which is kind of weird to say, but a better going forward left back than I think Miles is. And obviously, Miles is still young, has a lot to learn. I think Miles is better, probably 1v1, and also running back towards his own goal. I think he's quite good in terms of keeping the ball as well. So Miles, I think, offers us a lot when it comes to like a defensive solidity and positional discipline. He's not going to do those gallivanting runs into space, leaving acres of space behind him like a Calafiori will. So I think there are going to be games where we want Calafiori's chaotic kind of energy in the squad, but I also think there's going to be days where maybe a team has got a really, really dangerous right wing, or maybe we're not expecting to see as much of the ball because that team is also a very high possession oriented kind of team. And so we may want a player more like with Miles' sort of qualities to him. So if I take out the injury record, I think there's plenty of time for both to have their say and to have their starts and to earn those because of the profile that they have. I also think too that at times we might see even like a Jurriën Timber starting on the left-hand side, just because I think, again, he's even a bit of a different profile as well. He gives you a little bit of that creativity of Calafiori, but he's the best defender of the three, I would say. He is a fantastic 1v1 defender, as we all know, and we might see him on the left-hand side too. So what I'm getting to is I think Calafiori, in theory, if he could stay healthy, would probably be around 19 or 20 starts, maybe even more. Again, just because I think he's such a unique profile. But like you, Mike, I worry about his injury record. I think he had 19 appearances last year, only played 985 minutes in the Premier League. That's not great. And that's what, a fourth of the minutes available to him at left back, roughly. So it's hard to it's hard to have confidence in him starting roughly half the league games for me. So I'm going to say under, but I'm going to say something like 16. I hope that with another season under his belt at Arsenal, we might be a little more careful with him, but also we might just do a better job of being able to get him in the kind of fitness and the kind of strength that we need him to be to maybe minimize his injuries more so than he has in the past. I mean, last year was his first year. Perhaps the physios and the medical team are just learning how to manage him a little bit better to maybe get him in positions where maybe he's not as injury prone. I know that's like wishful thinking. We've seen this time and time again at Arsenal. We've had injury-ridden players that should have been legends at Arsenal that just never became that because they couldn't stay fit. But again, this is the time of the year for hope springs eternal when we all want to wish cast what we hope we want to see. And, you know, if it went all the way, I'd say over. But I think if I have to be a little bit realistic, I think it's going to be just under. What did Kelly say, Mike?
Kelly said it's doom and gloom all over here for poor Calafiori because he went with the under as well.
Got it.
Yeah, I think honestly, like for as much as we tried to detach ourselves from like, you know, the injuries and everything, and we wanted to play this game as even as possible, you provided with a lot of context, which you did a great job on it. But I think it's almost impossible to not think of injuries with Calafiori. It's very similar to Tomiyasu, and maybe I'm being really harsh on him, but like he came in, he got injured in preseason, you know, played a few games, got injured again, and it's just like maybe we're just scarred, if you will, as fans. We're like, ah, shit, we got another this guy, but it was another Nelson, then another Emil Smith Rowe, another Tomiyasu, another, you know, and et cetera, and we're like, dude, we seemingly always have one guy that is first quality-ish team quality, and then somehow they can't stay fit. So it's a bummer, and I am desperate to be wrong about this, for the record. Even if he doesn't hit the 18.5 that we're talking about, I'm desperate for him to be healthy and be able to play 15 games. That would be absolutely amazing. So here's hoping for him. Here's another one, another decisive one, man. A lot of split opinions on this man's arrival to the Arsenal. Everybody considered him backup to Bukayo Saka. but I do think that this number doesn't seem completely out of touch now that we've seen him come in for preseason back-to-back for Martinelli, and that is one Noni Madueke. We got him down at 15.5 games this season starting. What say you, Chris?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, when he was bought, we all said, well, that's a really expensive backup for Saka, and yet we've needed a really good backup for Saka for a long time in case he gets injured like he did last season, and also just to protect his career because he's reaching Raheem Sterling, early in his career kind of minutes, and what we don't want to see is Saka basically being out of a career by age 28. That would be a real shame because that means we only really have about 5 years left of his career, and I think that's really a really sobering thought to think about, especially in light of I sent you a video, Mike, that you responded to in our back channel of some highlights of Saka when he was playing left back for us as an 18-year-old, and just how much he's developed and grown since then, but also, God, what a player he was even at 18 playing as a left back, and the kind of talent we knew we had in our hands back then. So I think, it's great that we have a backup for Saka, but I think when you spend 52 million pounds, when you buy him from one of your main rivals, and Tim Stillman made this point on their preseason preview, which I think I really agree with. When Arteta really, really wants a player and he spends that kind of money on that player, he tends to play them quite a bit. There's a few exceptions to that rule, but I generally agree with that. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, we know that it's not going to be Madueke playing right wing, instead of Saka. Yeah. No one moves Saka out of that position. Yeah. So the only other position that we know he does play is left wing. And as we know, and as we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast and on every other podcast, that left-hand side is there for the taking. And without a left winger coming in, it seems like we might do a surprise by the end of the season, but that doesn't seem like KSE's MO. We've spent quite a bit of money. We should spend more, but we probably won't. I think there's real competition for who gets that left wing spot. And while we saw some green shoots in that last game, as you mentioned, Mike, between Gyökeres opening up space on that left-hand channel for Martinelli to come central, and we all know when Martinelli comes central, he gets more shots, he looks more confident, he scores more goals. I haven't seen enough to know if that's going to be what's going to transpire when the two of them are on the pitch. So all that to say, if we're spending 52 million pounds on Madueke, and the fact that Madueke is a bit of a different profile, he's a better dribbler than Martinelli. He's stronger on the ball. He's got more tricks in his feet. He can come left, which is his dominant foot, but he can also go central. He seems to be more effective when he gets it to the byline because, again, he's getting it on his left-hand foot, and therefore his cutbacks and crosses are better. I can easily see a world where he starts more than 15 and a half games at left wing. Again, the big caveat is we don't buy a left winger like a Rodrigo or, in my dream scenario, a Bradley Barcola, which I know will never happen. But outside of kind of those two names and really putting down, close to 100 million pounds for a player, I can see a world where Madueke starts 20 games this season, maybe more, in the Premier League. So I'm going to go over. And I know I wasn't a big fan of this buy when it happened. So maybe this is me just wanting to rationalize the purchase and wanting it to come good. But I don't see us spending that kind of money, preventing us from getting a true left winger and spending just a bit more only for Madueke to just be the backup to Martinelli and be the backup for Saka. I think there are plans for him to start more games than maybe we ever expected. So the over. I'm going to go over 20 games.
20. And just to pick your brain, we're almost between preseason, where he played, the quality of Bukayo Saka. Is it fair to say, Chris, when you say 20 games in your head, is that 20 games on the left? Or the majority? The
vast majority. Maybe 2 or 3 to spell Saka on the right. Absolutely. But Yeah, I think he'll probably get appearances off the bench on the right.
Yes.
I'm hoping like we're up 2-0, 3-0, 75th minute. Let's give Saka a rest. We know he's gonna play Champions League and all the minutes he can gather in Champions League. There's a World Cup coming up. He played for England this summer. He played a lot of preseason minutes this summer. He's coming off a major hamstring injury. Let's make sure that we don't run him to the ground and play him 90 minutes every game. So I think Madueke probably gets, I don't know, I can't do the math, something like 600 minutes off the bench, off the right-hand side, and then gets, 17, 18 starts on the left-hand side is my guess. How about you, Mike? What do you think?
Okay, so something that you said in Sporty Jason in the live chat swayed my vote, and I'm gonna
Mm.
go. I'm gonna say just under.
Oh, interesting.
There's my unpopular opinion. You guys swayed my vote because one thing that you commented on is Madueke might, if he plays on the right, it's going to be making appearances, and I started thinking to myself, well, Martinelli on the bench is an option to replace Bukayo Saka. We already established that Ethan Waneri is going to be pretty much Udegaard's backup, and they don't want him playing out wide. And just for the simple option of having the wild card, whether he's going to come into the left or the right, I think helps Martinelli stay on board as a starter. And Sporty J, this is where you helped me sway. And he sarcastically or not sarcastically said, "Does Nani track back?" As Mikel Arteta loves that about Martinelli, and he does. Like if you're telling me if you're telling me who starts at Old Trafford, we're visiting. We haven't lost a game at a top five, and say what you want about United right now. I understand the season that you just have. One of the big teams historically. We haven't lost a game over there, and we do tend to set up slightly more defensively. So I think Arteta again, and I've tried to rationalize this despite me being critical of Martinelli. Where like I keep on saying to myself, Martinelli has to be doing something that Mika Arteta likes that nobody else could see. Because there's no flipping way he continuously plays upwards of 30 games a season if he was pissing Mika Arteta off, right? So because of Madueke's versatility, the potential of being on the bench and having that wild card where he could play left or right, and the defensive qualities that Martinelli provides, I'm going to take the under on this one. That's going to be my bet on that one. Just going based on vibes over here, Chris.
I'm trying to think about this in terms of partnerships, and I'm trying to also not get bogged down in this podcast where we don't get through all of our predictions. But
yeah, it is a tradition to only do half of our predictions.
I know. I'll go quickly here. I can't help but think about partnerships and who might we see paired with Madueke, both from a kind of a striker situation, but also a left back situation. And I think, again, really hard to tell because we haven't seen all the permutations and combinations yet. But to me, it feels like a Kai Havertz and a Madueke maybe work better together because Madueke, if you can get him in space and high up the pitch and just dribbling at a guy, he's going to create quite a bit of chaos and havoc on a defense. And I think Havertz dropping deep can create space for him to receive. Whereas I think Martinelli and Gyökeres have already shown some signs that they work together as well because Gyökeres likes to come to the left, as you said, Mike, and that allows Martinelli to kind of come central. I think Gyökeres and Madueke might not be a great fit because I think they might be running into the same kind of areas. So it'll be interesting to see like who does Mikel pair Madueke and Martinelli with from a striker position, and then from behind, I have no idea because maybe you start Calafiori more often with a Martinelli because a Martinelli maybe is an even better defender from a tracking back perspective, and you might need that to offset some of Calafiori's freedom. And then you might want to play, more of like a Miles, right? Who's not going to be quite as adventurous getting up the pitch because you've got a Madueke who, further up the pitch is going to, probably be a bit more adventurous on the ball. May not be quite as good at tracking back, but he's maybe a better defender in space than a Calafiori is. I don't know. I'm making this up as I go, but
And you know what it is too, Chris, is we're speculating because we have such a small sample size because out of
Yes,
all the new
exactly.
players, he's only been with us a handful of minutes in preseason. So literally a lot of speculating. And then I'm going to, again, Chris, we're going to move past this because we're not going to hold this up. One comment that BX Gooner put, we need depth, which we have in rotation. The rotation part, you know that I've been saying this for a few days now, Chris, for a few podcasts, excuse me, where I think this is going to be a new, like a first, if you will, for Mikel Arteta and a first for supporters supporting Arsenal with him in charge. As far as him truly having a vast supply of options, and the past criticisms, even I've hurled at him, was like, "Mofo, why don't you rotate?"
Yeah.
And now when you have the players that you have on the bench, you kind of, you know what I mean? Like the scrutiny, I think
There's
that
no excuses now.
yeah,
Not to
it becomes
rotate.
in my opinion, like a more valid criticism of him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something to throw out there. Just figure, like, hey, it's worth saying. So that rotation thing, I'm generally surprised or curious to see how he handles that. To
For what
keep
it's
the ball
worth,
rolling, my friend,
yeah.
Calafiori, we're talking about Mandueke. Kelly's taking the over on this one.
He is. I saw that. I have his notes up as well. So if I know Kelly well enough, I think he's he's kind of over Martinelli, and I think he's hoping Madueke comes good in the left. And I think he's always been very, very positive about the Madueke signing. I think that optimism is showing here in his predictions. So, again, not trying to speak for the man, but if I had to guess, that's what he would say.
If you had to guess, you just listen to his 15-minute monologue.
Exactly. I turned his 15-minute monologue into basically 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's scared of it away from the pod tonight. That was the last thing Kelly did, and then he literally went on vacation after that rant.
Exactly. Next one we have here, Mike, is a guy who I think people are really excited about. Now, he doesn't have an obvious starting position in the squad, but we saw in preseason him playing a little bit of right back. And also, I think maybe both sides of the center back position. I can't remember, but I know that when he played in Spain, he played both. He played one season on the right and one season on the left. So he's ambipedal, meaning he uses both feet really well. And I've been really surprised at how good he is. I mean, Kelly has remarked watching him play that he looks like Gabriel, just a little bit more upright and a little bit less muscle in terms of the way he plays. And I think that's a spot on observation that obviously not quite as good as Gabriel or as experienced. He's still, 21 years old, but you wouldn't know it based on the way that he plays. He plays, really mature. He plays really hard. He's got those long legs. He's really good at tackling, stand-up tackling, slide tackling. His style is a lot like Gabriel's. And I think we've future-proofed at least one side of our center back position in case, we lose either Gabriel or Saliba, knock on wood, in the near future with the arrival of this guy. So I'm really excited, but we're talking about this season. A guy who's 21. He's deputizing probably the best center back partnership in world football in Gabriel and Saliba. We have the league starts here over under 3.5. Mike, what do you think about that? Do you think it's over or under?
we you know what, Chris, when we first established the number, I thought we were like going low, and the more that I think about it, the more I think like as far as Gabriel and Saliba are healthy, they're going to play literally every single game. And I was trying to, I don't know why in my head I thought Gabriel didn't play a lot of games under Mikel Arteta when he first arrived, the 2020-2021 season. He ended up playing 23 matches total. And in my brain, I had convinced myself that he had played substantially less than that. I'm not sure who I'm thinking about. And I was just thinking like, no, he's going to give him a lot of opportunity to kind of acclimate to the system, and we're not going to see him much. But dude, he just has what's the wrestling thing for the giant and Hulk, the unmovable object
Meets
and
the unstoppable force. Yeah.
Them's two is our center back duo, and I just don't see. You spoke about partnerships on the left. Mikel Arteta has spoken about partnerships on the field substantially and a lot of times in different past press conferences. So Look, man, I think he's a really interesting player. Preseason, he looked really composed for as much as again, small sample size, right? We're just speculating here. But I think this is one of those players, Rand, where he's going to play a lot of cup minutes, and he's maybe Champions League once for qualified minutes. I just don't see him playing any games within the league other than, we're going to win the league, 4 games left in the season. So maybe he get the 4 games there for sure.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, I'm looking at Gabriel's starts, and we should also look at Saliba's, but I imagine that it'll be quite similar. Outside of the first season that Gabriel played for us in 2021, where he had 23 starts in 2,000 minutes, he had 35 appearances. I'm assuming 35 starts in 21-22, 38 starts. So he started every single game, or had 38 appearances. I mean, in 22-23, 36 in 23-24. And he probably would have had 36, 37, 38 last season if it wasn't for the injury. He had 28. Now, that might be down to the fact that we just didn't have great backup for him. But again, 21 years old, bright future in Mascara, lots of experience in La Liga, looks a real talent, can even play right back. Again, outside of injury, which I'm praying doesn't happen this season, I'm with you, Mike. I think we ease him into Premier League football. He might get a start or two against lesser opposition. Who knows? Maybe he gets a couple of appearances off the bench, although that you don't tend to do that with center backs. You tend to play him full 90s because that partnership is really crucial, especially the way we play with the high line. I think he's going to get League Cup starts, especially early rounds. Once we put games to bed in maybe mid rounds against lesser opposition, he comes in for 30 minutes, just to spell a Gabriel, maybe a Saliba, maybe on the right-hand side, fullback. I just don't see him getting 4 or more starts in the Premier League. Just don't see it, given how well Saliba and Gabriel have meshed and become such a force for us. And again, if our target this season is winning the Premier League, I'm not sure you can afford to start, as good as he is, start a 21-year-old who has yet to form a real clear partnership. Again, he just got here, and rely on him for more than 1 or 2 starts at most. So I'm going to say under as well. What's interesting is that Kelly said over, and I think that's Kelly's excitement about the player. Again, don't know what he would say more than that, but I know that in talking with Kelly, he's a big fan, like we all are, and perhaps that excitement is spilling over into his prediction and wanting to see more of Mascara than maybe he will get. Time will tell in terms of who's right, but Kelly had the over.
Just want to give you just a little Phil live chat, or dear listener, into the live chat right now. BX Schooner is getting battered by everybody because he may have suggested he's slightly high right now, which, as Sporty J says, we should have got the hint when he said he went to Dairy Queen at almost 11 o'clock at night. But the comment of the night thus far, it says, wild take of the night, but I take Garnacho on loan.
Wow.
And he is I've never seen our comment section disagree with one man the most.
that is the take of someone who is on another planet, that's for sure.
He got the good stuff over there. That is definitely the stuff they were smoking at the Emirates when they offered 40 million plus 100% for Flores.
Well, I mean, if BX was, in Berta's position, he might be throwing 70 million plus 1 at United right now for Garnacho. Who knows? But I think you're up, Mike, to ask me. I think.
This is another. So we set the bar high on this one at 25.5 games over under on this one, and we're talking about Timber right now. And so Timber pretty much healthy throughout the entire season. He had a little bit of a procedure during the summer, but I think that the interesting one and the reason why you and I landed on such a high number is because of his versatility. So he deputized, he kind of came in, played left back for us. Ben White got injured, pretty much played almost exclusively right back. And I think we've seen him drop into, I feel like we've seen him drop in center defender at one point in time, like in a specific game state. But massive versatility by this player. If he starts on the right, starts on the left, I don't think you're going to get a lot of people complaining about it at all. So we got him at 25.5 timber for starts in the league. What do you say, Chris?
Ooh, this is maybe the toughest one because we overplayed him last year, coming back from an ACL injury, but we had to because Ben White wasn't fit. This is another case where our fullbacks are really well balanced and they have complementary but very distinct and separate strengths. Ben White, as we know, is really good in that triangle with Odegaard and Saka. He does the overlapping runs that create space for Saka to come inside and get his shot off in his left-hand foot, or to get off that far post cross, the back post cross to a Havertz or a Rice making a late run, etc. So I think when we know we need that right-hand side to be humming and purring, and we need to get goal scoring chances from that right side, I have a feeling White might start. But I can't help but think that White is not nearly the defender that Timber is. And I'm just saying what I see in preseason and also last year. And this could be just White shaking off the rust, Ben White shaking off the rust. But I also think maybe it's the miles, it's the injuries, it's the way we've overplayed him for a couple of years now, slowly taking its toll on him, that I just don't think he's quite the one-on-one defender that he was. And so again, against teams that have lightning quick left wingers, that have tricky left wingers, that have a lot of their attack come down that left-hand side, I worry a little bit having Ben White there if we know the game's going to be a tight one. And I think that's where Timber really shines. He's an excellent 1v1 defender in space, isolated against a winger. It allows Saliba to play off and, defend space or defend a late run. I just think he simplifies our defensive responsibilities. And I think that is huge when it comes to playing against certain teams. I am going to say, in combination with maybe some spot starts at left, at left back, 25.5. That leaves.
I know, dude. I'm still deciding in my head right now, Chris.
I'm gonna say just under. I'm gonna say, I know we made these over unders, and maybe it's us in our own. We think we're really good at this thing or something, but I'm gonna say 24 league starts. I'm gonna say something like 22 on the right-hand side and then 2 somewhere else, probably left back, just for shits and giggles. I think we need to do a good job of giving him the rest that he needs. He's been overplayed. He got here and got injured the first game he played for us against City. And then, he came off the ACL and we overplayed him last year. I think we need to be careful about how we deploy him and Ben White, to be honest, because they've both been overplayed because they've both, had injuries. And I'm praying, I'm hoping that Arteta does a lot of rotation between the two and puts them in positions to do what they do best. And I think, again, as I said before, they have very complementary but needed qualities that I think will work well in certain game states and against certain opposition. So what did I say? I said 24. I'll say just under. What about you, Mike? I know this is a tough one, but
it is.
It's an interesting debate.
Just to answer Ray Anderson, for a reminder for dear listener, this is only league appearances, so we're limited to the 38 league games.
League starts, you mean, Mike?
League starts, yes, not appearances. Thank you, Chris, for the correction. I'm still undecided.
This is why we do the half, because you can't say.
I know. No cop out. Otherwise, I would have just taken the draw for all of them. That would have been the easiest thing to do right there. Let me see, for reference, Kelly. Kelly also took the under. Man, Kelly took the under. Am I different? Fuck it. I'll take the over.
Take the over. All right.
I'll take the over because why not? I'll take the over, and here I'll even shock you more, Chris. Because I'm convinced we're gonna see him a lot on the left. And if I just took the under for Calafiori due to the fact that I don't think he's gonna be fit, I'm subtracting Calafiori games at left back and I'm giving it to Timber. So I'm gonna take the over on it.
So then I want to know how many games you think Miles is going to start.
Why you got to complicate?
Forgot about him.
Why you got to complicate things, Chris?
I know.
Let's see.
Making you do math this late at night. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, let's see. If Timber going to play 26 games, I would say Miles is going to play roughly 12 games, Chris. If I'm going with this, no, because he's going to play some right back games too.
Yes, of course.
Miles Lewis-Skelly, not Maitland-Niles, just to be clear, will definitely play at least half the games within the season, 100%. And I know I think even the idea for a lot of people suggesting even dropping him is probably pretty polarizing in itself. But I don't view it as dropping him. I view it as just managing minutes and whatnot. And I think overall, from what we've gathered in the past, Chris, how many times did we have the conversation in which we said, why do we look so much better in Europe than we do in England? Most of the time is because they allow us the space to actually play. And who's great at playing in midfielder when they're slotted in on paper as left back? Miles Lewis-Skelly. He progresses the ball and plays a lot. So I'm just kind of doing some quick math. I think he's going to still play, a massive amount of minutes, Miles Lewis-Skelly, that is. But I think Timber is going to just be a little bit more assuring in the league, if you will. So, hey, variety, my friend. If you and Kelly are going for the under, why not?
Well, you make an awesome point because I think. Hold on, Mike, just a second.
Yeah, I see you. Yeah, that was Chris's. He actually shut the door on his daughter right now. That's just amazing right there. He was like, "Go away."
True. My daughter has her friend over, and
I was just. I didn't think that was gonna work, Chris.
That was actually true. In terms of Miles, I think like Winery, we had to play him more than I think we probably wanted to last season. So while we might be assuming that, Miles is going to get every minute that Calafiori doesn't play, and that might be a lot. That might not be in the best interest of the player or the club either. Because as we've seen, there have been times when Miles has got caught with the ball at his feet on the turn, in dangerous positions. And as we know, the places where he tends to receive the ball can be very dangerous to receive the ball in if you're not secure with the ball. And I think sometimes defenses have sort of sussed out what he does and that he tends to like to do a little bit too much. And so they send 2 or 3 runners on his blind side. And he's given up a couple of dangerous turnovers in dangerous areas. So it might do him well for his long-term development to play him less than he played last year. And that might be counterintuitive. But if that's the case, who's going to get the rest of those minutes? I mean, who else plays left back? I mean, I guess we haven't talked about Kivior. If he stays, maybe he gets a little bit at left back. I don't think that's nearly his best position. I think he's a much better center back. That could go to Timber. And so I think that's the argument for me. If he's going to get over 25 and a half starts, that's the argument for me, is that it's not going to be a split between Calafiori and Miles at left back. It's going to be a split between those 3. And yeah, Timber will probably get the fewest starts there, but he might get more than the 2 I said, and that might take him over the 25 and a half that we earmarked. So anyways, all very interesting, to say the least.
Just to add to the substance abuse, Chris, real quick, Spurdy J, we just found out that he's drunk because he's trying to loan in Endrick from Barcelona, and he says he blames the alcohol. I'm starting to think, Chris, you
Friday night potting, man. I'm telling you.
Friday night. I'm starting to think you need to have an addiction in order to tune into us at these hours at night. I think that's what it is, Chris.
Only on a weekend night, because we don't get quite this kind of activity on a Tuesday night. So
yeah. Everybody's sober. They have to go to work the next day.
Our listeners do have some standards, Mike. Our listeners do have some standards.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about Kai Havertz, Mike, because right now we have, boy, is this another interesting one because, again, we brought in 6 new players, right, so far. Some that we know are going to be definitely backups, like Mascara for certain. Norgard, definitely a spot start here or there. Kai Havertz has been our number 9 for the better part of 2.5 seasons, whatever it is, coming off an injury, but he's rebuilt his body. Much stronger, looks to be quicker, as I said before. He looks to be sharp and focused in preseason. Again, can he carry that into the regular season? But we also brought in the best goal scorer in Europe last 2 seasons in Victor Gyökeres, and not for cheap. It certainly wasn't. I think we got him for probably less expensive than I was expecting, but 55 million or whatever it was is not cheap. Even by today's standards. And Victor offers us, a profile that we don't have in the squad, or certainly haven't had in the squad. So Kai's role will be interesting this season. Does he play only at the 9? Does he play in midfield? Which is, I think, where we bought him for, at least originally. Does he play somewhere else? I mean, he played left back for Germany under Tuchel when Tuchel was there.
He did. Yeah, you're right.
Or Nagelsmann, maybe it was. I can't remember who he played left back. But he played a couple games at left back for Germany. So I'm not suggesting he's playing left back. Don't get me wrong here. But Kai is a guy that, in equal measure, has a lot of different kinds of qualities, and yet I think also suffers from the notion that he doesn't necessarily fully own any one role, and therefore he can kind of play multiple different roles. I think his best role that I've seen him in at Arsenal is in the 9. But when he played at Bayer Leverkusen, he was more of a 10 or a support striker, if you will. He's good in central spaces, but maybe not his best position is as the out and out number 9. Now, I'm not suggesting that we're gonna change our 4-3-3 kind of a approach, our positional play. I'm not sure we'll go to a 4-2-2 necessarily, but we might see situations where he is where he starts with Gyökeres. I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting to see if and how the two of them play together, and in what situations does Kai start over Gyökeres, and in what situations does Gyökeres start over Kai. And so 21.5 is totally throwing a dart at the dartboard. Mike, you and I struggled with this one, but what's your take? Where do you see this going with Kai this season in light of all of that and anything else that's on your mind?
Is it insane to make the claim that I don't think he plays I don't think he starts more than 5 games in midfield? And similar to your take on Madueke saying that, hey, you don't see us spending 50 plus million on a player to not play him, and that's the reason why you took the over. That's how I'm feeling about the Gyökeres thing. And this pains me, for the record, because I'm a big Kai Havertz fan. Last season, I took the unpopular opinion, Chris, as you remember, when we were playing the agree or disagree game, where I said I disagree that we need a striker going into this season, and I was still harping about the attacking midfield, and I was talking about the left wing, which is why I'm taking exception about it with fans this season, where they're like, now that we got the new shiny striker, now they want the attacking midfielder, and I was like, no, we've been needing this one before the striker. Because I rate Kai, but I also look at Gyökeres with his track record for scoring. Apparently, he's also really good at penalties. So he's gonna. I'm sure he's gonna take that mantle from Bukayo Saka, or at least he's gonna get in the mix, with the sharing of the penalties with Odegaard and Saka. And I don't see a world in which he doesn't start the lion's share of the game. So because of that, I'm going to say tragically, I'm going to say, I know, dude, talk about a mascot, man. I think Kai Havertz is going to start. Shit, dude. Am I going to say less? He's going to start less than 21 games in the league.
Wow.
21.45. Yeah. He's going to start less than that. It's just Declan Rice, man, knock on wood. My decomposed wood desk over here is Declan Rice is always so consistent and is always playing. And I like unless literally Zubamendi suffers from some crazy fatigue, and just because you ask in what circumstance does Kai Havertz start in what games, maybe Zubamendi can't handle the physicality of the new calendar in the league because he's been playing in La Liga. That is my closest thing to a game state that I could imagine in which Declan Rice, I was going to say regresses, gets put back at 6 and Kai Havertz starts at 8. But I think the lion's share of his game time is going to be as striker. I think it's one of those when you and I were discussing we were going to take starts over appearances. I think appearances wise, he's going to clock in 37, right?
Yeah.
Appearances.
Yeah.
But as far as starts, I think it's because we're doing starts. I'm going to take the under on 21.5.
Dang.
And that hurts.
This is a hot take. I think we are going to see games where Kai plays where Odegaard plays. I think Kai is going to be the one that rotates. I think he's going to be more of the understudy.
Whoa.
Than even Nwaneri.
Okay.
Because I think some games we're going to play a true double pivot with Rice at the base with Zubamendi. So Rice is going to play a bit deeper because we're just going to have to. And I could see a situation where, like against a City, maybe even a Liverpool, where we might want a guy who gives us an out ball. And this is what Kai does, is that because he's so good in the air and Gyökeres, he does not win a lot of aerial headers. Now, he scored a superb goal in preseason, but I'm not talking about that kind of header. I'm not talking about heading goals to score. I'm talking about aerial duels, and his aerial duel percentage isn't great. Kai's is quite a bit higher, and Kai has played a very important role for us when we have played teams that are really good at pressing. He's been an out ball that wins aerial headers, and we win second balls and we get up the pitch really easily. I can see a situation where we want Gyökeres on the pitch, but we're also going to be playing teams that press really well, and we're going to need an out ball, and he can be another out ball for us, a tall target man that can win aerial headers, get knocked down for second balls, and then we're through to Gyökeres, scoring off of that kind of setup. So in a way, I said before, his best position I've seen him play in, regardless of team, is as a 10. And I could see us in situations playing him as a kind of a true number 10 or a shadow striker in that kind of setup where it's Gyökeres at the 9. You can pick whoever you want in the wings, Saka and Madueke or Martinelli. You pick your preference. And then you play Rice and Zubamendi. Zubamendi is, Rice is like your ball winner. And then he gets it to Zubamendi, who gets up the pitch to Kai as sort of our attack. Again, not in a ton of games, but I'm going to say in enough games that I think there's enough versatility in Kai's game that gets him over 21.5, just barely. I'm going to say 22 starts, and I think some of them could come in that sort of number 10 role, along with at striker and then as kind of a dual number 8 next to Odegaard in rare occasion. So I'm going to say over 22. How do you like that? I mean, I think I am inventing all these different formations and like setups
I know.
like Arteta doesn't typically do within a season. Like I think he does that from season to season, but I don't see him doing all of that kind of change within a season. I just have this funny suspicion that with as many tools and players that he has at his disposal now this season, more so than he's ever had at Arsenal, and that there's so much pressure to win something big this season, that I think he almost has to mix it up. I don't think he can just rely on a plan A in every game and hope it comes off. And I don't think he can, because he's got too many good players that will not allow him to have them sit on the pitch for long periods of time. I think there's way too much versatility in this squad for us to just play one way. I think we're going to play a number of different ways, and I could foresee that being one of the ways we play.
BX mentioned Kai and Jokic up top would be scary. So that, I mean, I don't think 4-4-2 is something that exists anymore in the world of football.
It does
I
out of
think
possession,
that's
but not in
why,
possession.
but it would be absolutely amazing. He's let's fucking go, Chris. That's what I'm talking. I want to hear. So he's excited about that idea.
That's just because BX is absolutely stoned out of his mind. That's why
he's that's how you know he's agreeing with you. If he's fully sober, he's taking my side on this bet because
he's taking the piss out of me if he's sober.
I am going to make a friendly bet for you, Chris, right now in front of God, our 3 listeners in the live chat. Okay, I will send you money for a 6-pack of insert Mexican lager of your choice if Kai Havertz starts at 10.
All right, fair enough. You're on.
Yeah,
and I'll do the same if he doesn't.
That's how sure I am that he's not gonna play in Odegaard's spot.
Maybe I'm drunk or stoned. I don't know.
For the record, I've been drinking tea actually all night. I haven't been drinking alcohol, so I know I'm the most sober person in this live chat and those podcasts.
No wonder you're so damn sensible tonight, Mike. Good Lord.
Fair enough. All right, Chris. To no surprise for you, I'm doing absolutely. We're doing absolutely horrible on time. So just FYI, we just want to point that one out. Now, Dowman, we decided to look. He's such a maverick, Chris. We didn't want to not include him in this list because he's such an interesting player in his own very specific way. But just for this specific player, we're not going to be talking about starts. We're going to be talking about appearances within the league. We set it at 5.5, and I it's one of those things, man, where I think it heavily depends on game state. So 5.5, let us know, chat. What do you guys think as far as appearances, league appearances for Dowman? What do you say, Chris?
I'm going to say just under, but I do think he's going to make lots of benches. I think this year is about learning what it takes to be a professional full-time. And I think a lot of that is watching and observing and emulating what the pros do day in and day out, in training, on game day, when you lose, when you win, in different situations with different kinds of pressures. I mean, again, we have to remind ourselves and pinch ourselves. This is a 15-year-old. I've said this before. It's my oldest son's. He's the same age as my oldest son. He kind of looks like my oldest son. It's really odd phenomenon to watch a player with this kind of talent, this good at this age, and be talking about league appearances as a 15-year-old. It's insane. The sky's the limit for him. And if we're talking about Max Dowman as an 18-year-old, and we're talking about appearances, and you tell me the over-under is like 25.5, I'm going over, because I think he's that good. And even if there is a very, very good pro in front of him, he's the kind of talent that you might think about selling that very good pro in front of him to make space for him at age 18 or 19. He's that good. But at 15, it's a different proposition, because as technically good as he is, and we saw it in preseason, and as physically developed as he looks as a 15-year-old, he looks strong, he looks tall. He still has a ways to go developmentally from a physical standpoint. And again, you don't want a situation where you've crocked a guy because you played him too much at too young of an age, and he turns out to be a Jack Wilshere, a guy who had immense talent. I know you disagree, Mike, but a guy who had immense talent, but could never stay fit because he played too much, and he got into too many physical duels. He collided too many times with players, and his body didn't hold up. Dowman is a guy who's fearless. He's a guy who is not afraid of dribbling around a guy, but that also means that in a competitive game against an adult, that adult is not going to be afraid to take him out. And a 15-year-old's body cannot handle that repeatedly. So I think, again, this season is about exposing him to what it looks like to be a professional. And I think that means giving him bite-sized appearances when it makes sense, but I don't think it's any more than 5. So I'm going to say 5 appearances, just under. What do you think, Mike?
Okay. Short and simple for me, it's going to be under, and it has nothing to do with his quality, but it has everything to do with that the protecting him. He said this in multiple times, referring to Waneri when Waneri started breaking out, and like he played a few minutes when he made the debut, and he was one of the youngest players in the league to do so. He spoke about this extensively. He got a lot of heat when he didn't play him in PSV when we were already pretty much virtually qualified for the next round of the Champions League. He's going to protect the player not only physically, but he's going to protect the player from the hype as well. Not that he doesn't have hype surrounding him. The entire world knows about him, but I think he's going to do his best to keep him grounded and play him within cup games, maybe against a few lesser opponents where sure they might be a little bit more physical, but a little bit less savvy technically. So nothing to do with his talent. I think this is very much just very similar to Waneri. And to an extent, it would have been very similar to Miles Lewis Skelly last season had all the injuries didn't happen. I mean, I think Mikel Arteta mentioned it himself that there was like zero plans to start Miles Lewis Skelly the amount of minutes that he had. It was all about just getting him into the system, kind of letting him know what it was to be a professional. And it was just a series of bad luck and injuries that opened up the gates for him. And he took the opportunity. He played and he's shining, but I think Dalman at 15, I think you're asking a lot for him. That's all.
I think BX makes a good point, though.
Absolutely. With the cup matches that he included, he said 7-8 cup matches.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then this was a last-minute inclusion, so Kelly didn't have the opportunity to actually answer this one because it was just something that Chris and I came up with right before we started the podcast. So we're just going to put him under wrong no matter what. And we're going to move on to the next one. What do you got for me, Chris?
Oh, Arsenal goals scored over under 83.5. Mike, you did a little bit of research in terms of how many goals you've scored in the last 3 seasons. Do you have that handy or should I bring it up? Because I think that's really instructive from a context standpoint. I think I have it. Hold on.
Okay. If you do, that would be really awesome. But if not, I can look at it.
So, I thought I had it. Maybe I don't. I don't.
I know I see you.
We know we had 89 2 years ago. We had 20 or so goals less than that last season. I think our average was something like high 70s, low 80s.
So starting starting from 22, so 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, we had 88 goals.
Yep.
Then we had 91 goals in last season, 61 goals. And if you divide that within our average or 3-year averages is 82.6.
82.6. So basically
last season was a big dip, but also last season was the season that, just for a little bit of context, our entire fucking front line took a dive.
Yeah. I'm going to say just over. I don't think we get to 89 or 91 goals like we did in seasons past. I just think the league's too good. And I think there's just too many games to play where scoring that many goals is realistic, but I think we're going to something like 86 maybe. I think, I think this tells you, however you answer this question tells you a lot about how you think the season's going to go. So I think we're going to be much better than last season. I think Gyökeres is going to be good for 18 to 20 goals in the league, I imagine, which is 20, that's 20 more than we had in the squad last year. And if you can keep fitness within our primary goal scorers, I mean, I think Saka is going to score quite a bit this season. And we're going to get a smattering from a bunch of other players, Madueke, Kai. I think Odegaard will score more than he did last season. I think we can't help but score a significant amount more than we did last season. So I'm going to say 86 over. Mike, what do you think? You are on mute, my friend.
Which is fine because I kind of sound like Porky Pig right now, and I started stuttering like so it works out just fine.
Perfect.
I was looking at the last 3 seasons, right? And this is my interpretation of 88, 91, and 69. healthy, not healthy.
Yeah.
And healthy got 88 and 91, and that was out the inclusion of Victor Gyökeres. And I can't help but be optimistic about this season. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Chris, where it's a really good point in which you said that how we start rating these over and unders, it kind of guides you to our ultimate question for the night, which is, who is going to be on our top 4 and who's going to win the league. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about it. So I'm going to take the over. So I not quite 90, but I'm I like your 88. So you're 86. So just because I'm more optimistic because I'm a truer real fan, I'm going to say 80, 87.
I knew you were going to do that somehow.
Yeah, see, guys, who this guy's so fucking negative, guys.
I'm a plastic. What can I say?
I don't know how to deal with this guy, man.
I mean, I love this question from BX. Who's going to be the first player to reach 10 league goals? Maybe we'll tackle that one when we talk about Arsenal lead scorer or most goals scored. But I think that's a great question.
Okay, for sure. Well, I will. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Chris.
Negative Nancy Kelly went under. I think this is Kelly. This is Kelly's history as a Minnesota sports fan coming through, in that he's bracing himself for disappointment, and if we do something magnificent, he will be over the moon thrilled. So
classic Kelly. He's desperate to be proven wrong. He's been negative about our goal scoring capabilities ever since we didn't sign Retegui. I think, if we're being honest.
Retegui, yeah, exactly. Mike, keeping this boat going, keeping this show rolling. Arsenal goals conceded over under 30.5. I think you also had some averages for the last 3 seasons for this one as well.
So in the last 3 seasons, 43 goals conceded, 29, 34 after that, and then the 3-year average for that was 35 goals. And we set it at 30.5. Under.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have one of those. We're gonna talk about the points actually pretty close, but I'm really optimistic about the point thing. I was the one that suggested upping it a little bit.
Yeah.
We had that point total a little bit lower, but I think it's going to be one of those seasons where, look, man, we can't have that amount of shitty luck back to back in which we're going to miss players. So knock on wood again. That's going to be we should have named the podcast knock on wood. So yeah, I think we're going to keep it sub 30, man, to be completely honest. Part of it maybe is because I'm looking at a few of the teams around. Like, I think there's less teams within the league that could hurt us. As crazy as that sounds, I don't know why, but I don't think Isaac is going to play for Newcastle again. And so like I'm looking at like big, massive threats that are going to consistently score against us. And of course, you got the Manchester Cities, you got the wild card Chelsea games that are always kind of wild, and then you got the Liverpools of the world that, if they don't got Ekitike, they might potentially even have Isaac, which firmly places them as favorites in the league, I would say, if they do manage to get that. But I don't know. Like, I look at the 3 relegation. I say relegation of the 3 teams that just came up, and I'm like, dude, if we're conceded goals for Sunderland, Burnley, and Leeds, I'm going to be disappointed, to be completely honest. So there's 6 games right off the bat. I think Newcastle is going to be neutered. Leicester. Well, I guess Leicester City already went down. Everton has always been a low scoring shit show of a thing. So I don't know, man. I'm feeling a little bit better about this season. I also feel a little bit better with the tracking and the interception that are come from our midfielder. From our midfield, we spoke about the importance of Thomas Partey on a footballing aspect of it, but now we refreshed that. And I think somebody pointed out that his Zubimendi is available a whole lot more. And then we are even firming up our left-hand side even more on defensive standards, right? Because we no longer have a flair player, if you will, of like Kai Havertz. We got Declan freaking Rice there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's a recipe for a lot of good stuff. So I'm going to take the under. I'm going to be bold about this one, and I'm going to swivel at the end of who's going to win the league. If that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get all the hopes up.
Oh wow. I'm going to take just over, and I think I'm looking at this purely from a historical perspective. The last team to go under 30.5 was us 2 seasons ago. the last times that was done was when City and Liverpool have had their unbelievable runs, where they were basically a two-man juggernaut in 21-22, where they both conceded just under 30, and in 19 and 20, where they both destroyed the rest of the league, and also both only conceded under 30. Every other season in the modern era, in the last 8, 9, 10 seasons, the best teams have conceded over 30 goals. And when you look at the total goals scored in the Premier League over that same time period, it keeps going up. In 1920, there was just over 1,000 goals. 2021, just over 1,000 goals. Then 2021-22, almost 1,100 goals. 22-23, almost 1,100 goals. And then 23-24, 1,246 goals. Last season was 1,141 or something like that. So the number of goals scored in the league just keeps going up and up and up. And I think while the bottom quarter of the league is maybe as weak as it's ever been, I think the mid-table teams and the teams in Europe and above are as strong as they've ever been. And for that reason, while I think our defense is the best in the league, and I think it's maybe the best we've ever had at Arsenal, I have a hard time thinking, even as good as we are, that we will be able to give up fewer than that amount of goals. So I'm going to say over, but I'll say 32 goals, which is still very respectable. Okay. That's less than a goal a game. Better than last season, certainly. Only a little bit worse than our season when we only gave up whatever it was, 28 or whatever it was. So
BX is completely reading my mind, by the way, because I was going to say, does Chelsea have the record? And he just put, we need to beat Chelsea's record of 14.
Yeah, never happened.
Jesus Christ, that was impressive, man.
Yeah, Jose just parked the bus, man. That's where that term came from. And he won the league by being really, really defensive. I just don't think you can win the league doing that anymore. I just really don't. And Kelly, I think, went over as well. Don't know why, but
don't know why, but here we are.
Here we are. Mike, clean sheets. Now, again, this kind of goes hand in hand maybe with goals conceded, but we have over under 15.5. And again, I think we got to this number because of some historical references. Do you have the last 3 years?
Yeah, we got 14 clean sheets. We got, let's see, we got 14, 18, and 13 clean sheets. Again, our last season is like I feel like last season brings down our averages substantially. And again, it was a cluster ruck of injuries. And the 3-year average of that one is 15 even. So I think that's how we landed on 15.5. So this is kind of realistically, in my opinion, Chris, are we going to keep our trend when we're healthy, which was 14 and 18? Or are we going to be below our average, 13, which last season with all the injuries? And look, I went on the under with Mascara because of Gabriel for Gabriel and Saliba's partnership. I went with the under on the goals because of the defensive qualities that we have in our midfielder and all the defenders that we got back this season, including Ben White, Calafiori, the partnership of Saliba. I think I would throw everybody through a loop if I said over on this one. So continuing the defensive masterclass trend that I foresee us having, being the overly optimistic SOB that I'm being for the night, I'm gonna go with the under as well, dude.
You need over. You mean over?
Over. Excuse me. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. You think we're gonna get more than 15 clean sheets this year?
Yeah.
That's sound.
I think we did 18 last season. Why not 18 again?
Totally. I'm looking up something really quickly, but let me spitball. I think that's really sound reasoning. I think we've got the best back four in the league. I think we've got one of the best goalkeepers. Maybe not the best goalkeeper, but one of the best, top three certainly. And he does pretty much everything well. Perhaps the thing he doesn't do quite as well as PKs, which, to be fair, we'll probably give a ton of this year because the PGML hates us, but that's another podcast. And, maybe he's not quite as good from a shot stopping perspective as, the very elite, but also just a very good Premier League Premier League goalkeeper. I'm not finding what I'm looking for, so I'm just gonna make up something. I'm gonna say just over as well. And I'll say 16. Better than the worst of the three last seasons. Maybe not quite as good as our best. But again, I think there's too many teams in the league that are capable of goal scoring, and I think it's really difficult to keep a clean sheet. I think still, until I see otherwise, we sometimes have a glass jaw, like giving up a goal to a team when they've only had one shot on target because something goofy happened on a counterattack, and it goes off Saliba's ass and off of Raya's nose and into the goal. But having said that, I think we are good enough to have just over that 15 and a half clean sheets. I see Kelly's got under, of course, but at least he's consistent.
You would think that being in a having beers, spending time with his family, and being on the beach would make this man a little bit more chipper about things. But no, somehow he found to be the opportunity to be a negative Nancy. Arch Bros in the live chat says, "Damn, finally me and Chris disagree on one. Sad days."
So what does he disagree with? The clean sheets?
I think he's going with Kelly with saying that we're gonna have under 15.5 clean sheets.
It's sad days because he's being pessimistic. That's why it's sad days.
Boo this man! Absolutely,
boo this man.
I was gonna say I was on mute for a second, but when I heard you saying you were doing some research, I was like, did you literally ask ChatGPT, is Raya better than Ramsdale? So I feel like that's what you asked it. Like, okay, before I commit to this.
I think what I typed in is David Raya better than Pigeon Man? And ChatGPT knew exactly who I was talking about. That thing is way too smart for its own.
It's way too smart. Yeah. What do we got next, Chris? Let's see. Arsenal points scored. We got this at 87.5. For reference, 2022, 2023, 88 points. We followed that up with 91 points. And unfortunately, last season, 69 points for an average of 82 points. Again, man, that last season is putting such a damp on these numbers. We're doing these maths right after the comment that Mika Arteta said that nobody's had more cumulative points than us the last three seasons. I love that man, but sometimes he words things, and I'm like, my friend, I don't think you're helping yourself. Context and everything. I just don't think. Again, Chris, I've said this in the past. It's one of those comments that I believe that it's cute when you're winning, not so cute when you haven't won.
It gives your rivals a lot of ammunition to fire back at you, which we don't need. We have plenty of that coming our way, you know?
Absolutely. So what do you say, Chris? We're at 87.5. Are we going to be – we have beaten 87.5 twice, to be fair. But how are you looking at this league?
I think this is going to be one of the most competitive seasons we will have seen in a while. I don't think anybody's going to run away with the league. Again, outside of major injury catastrophe across multiple teams. I'll just give you a preview of my top four. I think it's probably a three-way race for the title. I think Chelsea's going to be, I hate to say it, going to be decent again. I hate to say it. I think Spurs are going to be much improved. I don't think they're going to be a soft touch and an easy 3 points anymore. I don't necessarily rate Ruben Amorim, but they're not going to be nearly as bad as they were last season. So all that to say, I think your traditional quote unquote top six, especially those bottom two that I just talked about, I think are going to be harder to beat for all the teams, all the top teams, not just us. And while like a Brentford or a Bournemouth have been weakened by their outgoings, and therefore might be an easier team to beat, you've got an Aston Villa who's not in the Champions League anymore, so they don't necessarily have the pressure of competing on two elite fronts. You know, the Europa League is, Emery's jam, so he'll figure out a way to balance that with the league. So they're always a tough game. What I'm trying to say here is I don't think we're going to see a season where we've got the two front runners or the three front runners are all pushing 90 or even over 90. I think it's going to be something like the winner is somewhere around that over under, give or take, with the two teams behind, not far behind, within 2, 3, 4 points. I mean, I think it's going to be that close. I'm going to say just under at 87. And I don't know if that means it's enough to win the title, but I think it's really respectable from the standpoint of it's up there with some of the best seasons we've had under Arteta from a points total perspective. And it's very competitive in terms of it winning the league many seasons, maybe not all seasons. So again, just because I'm saying it's under doesn't mean I think it's bad. Mike, what do you think? I mean, what do you think about my rationale? Do you think it's sound? Do you agree with it? What's your perspective on the point total?
So you know what? Like I'm viewing this league like in a completely opposite direction, and I think Mark Goldbridge said this a few weeks ago, in which he said he doesn't remember a time in which the top three performers of the last season substantially outperformed the rest of the league in the transfer window. And I feel like the top three teams from last season only got stronger while the entire rest of the league got a little bit lower. United is the next best thing as far as incomings are regarding. And I know that they bought a front three. I'm not saying they're going to finish whatever 16, 15th like they did last season. I do think, and I agree with you, that they're going to be substantially better. I just think it's the rest of those teams, Chris. Like Brentford got weak, Brighton got weak, Burnley just came up, Crystal Palace already potentially losing Mark Waggy, potentially losing Eze. Everton's always been on the lower spectrum.
Newcastle won't be quite as strong because they won't have Isaac probably.
Newcastle, yeah, I'm just going down the list right now. Okay, Nottingham Forest got a little bit stronger. Sunderland, Spurs might potentially be a little bit more organized with Frank Thomas. West Ham haven't done a whole lot. Wolves haven't done a whole lot, and Bournemouth haven't done. I don't know. Like I agree with the Mark Goldbridge take that the rest of the league didn't keep up. They didn't close the gap. Matter of fact, the top three made the gap a little bit wider. Is how I view the league. So because of that, I'm taking the over. I think whoever ends up being the winner is like I'm like 90 to 92 mark in my head. Yeah. Somebody's going to lose a game. Nobody's going to be invincible. I just maybe I'm not giving I don't want to be like fucking silly either, right? I'm not saying anybody's going to be Sentinels and make 100 points or anything, but I do think that I didn't say Thomas Frank. I said Frank Thomas, and Arsbrock just
he's a giant African American baseball player, Mike.
I'm like, this is second week in a row, I believe, that I'm just mixing names up. It's absolutely amazing. I don't want to be like that, like elite club supporter guy that thinks everybody's shit, but like just looking at our transfer window, I'm impressed with the transfer window. I think we have less single points of failure. We have our floor. Everything I've been regurgitating this whole podcast. I'm optimistic about it. And I think the league boils down to City in Liverpool. And look, even with City, look, it was like we got a little bit of I say luck. It's not that we're celebrating the injury of a player, but Rodrigo got a relapse, and his coming back, he's just an important player for City. And I think I read, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to take another month and a half to 2 months before he returns. So that's a net positive for Liverpool and Arsenal in my books. So yeah, I don't know. I'm speculating 90 for whoever the winner is.
Here's one more quick counterpoint to why I think it could be under. I think the accumulation of games that the top teams have accumulated over the past couple years, I think makes it more likely that they will drop unexpected points to teams you wouldn't expect. You think about the fact that there are now more games than ever before that these top teams have been playing. You think about the Club World Cup this past summer. You think about, World Cup qualifying, Nations League, and all the top teams have all these international players that have played all these extra minutes. I think fatigue will set in at some point for all these teams, not just us. And I think you're going to see maybe some upsets that you wouldn't expect from teams that have no business beating some of the top teams, as strong as they are. I just don't think that we're going to bulldoze all those weak teams. Neither will City, neither will Liverpool. I mean, I think Liverpool looked really shaky today. Now, again, it's the first game. A lot can happen. Lots of variance occurs. Certainly Bournemouth didn't look good either, but Bournemouth has been severely weakened this summer, and I think they could have easily won that game today against Liverpool. And I think you might see more of that happen throughout the season again, which is where I think you could see lower point totals than you might expect. But again, this is all hypotheses and guessing, predictions, etc.
Yes.
I think literally anything could happen. If we saw two teams score over 90 points, would I be surprised? No. If I see nobody score over 90 points, would I be surprised? Also, no. No one will be surprised that Kelly picked the under. That's a recurring theme. We should just call Kelly Underman or something. Because look at all these unders.
I'm telling. Is he in Australia? Is he in the land down under?
The land down under, yeah. If he goes on and picks Arsenal to win the title, I don't know what this is going to be a crazy season. So
he's gonna, man, his swerve is going to be epic, man.
It is going to be epic. Mike, we're going to transition into a little bit more of a quick lightning round version of this conversation. We're going to get in some Arsenal individual awards for the season. We're going to start off with Arsenal's breakout player.
I think, Chris, did I take the over Madueke? No, I took the under because I still think he's going to be a breakout player in the sense that now, how are you viewing breakout player, Chris?
Yeah, but how you define it however you want.
Yeah. Okay, I think he's going to be a
player that surprises someone with their output. How about that?
He's going to surprise. I think he's going to shock a lot of Arsenal fans with his output, playing starting games on the left and coming in the last final 15-20 minutes. I think he's going to do some really good numbers for us. That would be my breakout player of the season.
And my
things are happening on the screen that I don't understand.
No, and I'm just going to refresh this. I don't know why it's doing what it just did because it wouldn't let me type. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Madueke is a good one. I didn't prepare my answer for this one. What do I think?
Welcome to the club, Chris, because I the entire podcast I've just been winging it.
Have you now?
Yeah, I'm just reading the live chat, listening to your counterpoints. Hey, Chris, as I always like to tell you, we're just having a conversation here, my friend.
We are. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this thing going. I'm gonna go. I'm still trying to decide between two people. I hate to do the obvious one. I'm gonna go with Gyökeres.
Okay.
I think everybody's expecting him to score a ton of goals, but I think because we've been dying for an out-and-out number 9 for so long, that I think the fact that we actually have one that can score goals in the way that he does, and the way he will do, is going to be shocking for people because we really haven't had a really good goal scorer as a number 9 for a very long time, probably since Aubameyang. And I think Gyökeres is going to hit, again, as I said before, 18 to 20 goals at a minimum in the league. And we haven't had one of those in a while. So
that's fair. And you know what? I think I didn't put him like a breakout player because to your point, I think he's like the obvious guy. So in my mind, like, because he's such an obvious choice that a lot of people are going to make, in my head, it doesn't qualify as a breakout player. So it's kind of like it's kind of depends. Like this is a really fluent conversation, obviously, and we don't know, but he would be definitely regardless of my thoughts and interpretation, he would be a breakout star within the league because the big question for everybody is he going to translate his goals from Portugal to England? So, breakout player for Arsenal, definitely breakout player of the league if he hits like 20 plus goals. I think it's going to be really impressive, and he would like shut a lot of negative opinions down. That's for sure.
Yep. And Kelly has Mosquera as his breakout, which I think is another good one, although I just don't think he's going to play enough to break out. But
Now I got to Google search his name because I feel like I feel like it's not O.
Oh, ER, yes.
It's Gyo. Okay. Yeah, that was going to drive me. I wasn't going to sleep over that one. I'm glad I checked. Yeah, it's ER. All right. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Lovely. And he went with the schedule. That's a big shout. So Kelly, we definitely got Kelly drunk at the moment in which we asked him.
Yes, we did.
Spurdy J in the live chat says Zubimendi, so he's expecting him to just captain that midfield. Arsenal highest scorer, and I think this kind of backtracks to, luckily for me, you started. BX Schooner says who's going to be the first player to reach 10 goals. I so desperately want to say Bukayo Saka, and yet I feel like Gyökeres is inevitable. So I'm going to go with Victor Gyökeres.
Is he going to be the high scorer then? Or are you answering BX's question?
I think he's going to be the highest scorer. And because of that, I think he's going to, hit the ground running. Kers. You got a muscle memory, my friend.
Oh my gosh. I've been misspelling his name for so long that.
Yeah. So that was my way of answering Beck Schooner's question. I think he's going to hit the ground running. I think he's going to be the highest scorer. And because of that, he's going to be the first guy to hit the 10 mark.
I think there's going to be some adjustment period for Gyökeres. I think he's going to hit his stride kind of mid-season, and he'll be really flying toward the end of the season. But I do think that he may not start as many games as we might expect towards the beginning, because I just think that there is something to be said about a player in Kai that knows the system, knows what Arteta wants of him, knows what it takes to play against Premier League opposition. I also think Saka is going to have a career year this year. I just think Saka's going to the moon this season, because we now have a number 9 who is excellent at in the box movement. And I think he is going to take up so much attention of that back line that it's going to leave Saka in 1v1s a lot more often than he's used to. I also think we are playing a lot more direct than we have in the past, where when we turn over a team, we're going to get the ball up the pitch really quickly, either centrally or out wide. And I think Saka is going to be the benefit of a lot more 1v1s in space, which I think he is a killer when that happens. So I think it's going to be Saka. As much as I think Gyökeres is going to score goals, I think Saka is going to score even more. I think we're going to see a 20-plus goal season from Saka in the league. And I think you could see something close to 30 goal contributions. I am going way over the top on Saka this season, but I think he's going to have an unbelievable year this year. And no surprises. The main man, Mr. Gyökeres himself, Mr. Kelly, went with Gyökeres here. So there you have it. And I cannot type all of a sudden in here. I don't know why. So whatever. We're almost at the end of this.
Joke's on you. I have no idea what you're doing. Yeah, you managed to delete the last one too. So something's funky is definitely going on.
Yeah, whatever. Somebody's in here playing tricks on me. It's all good.
Your daughter for the payback for closing the door.
Probably.
Well, all right. So moving forward. Arsenal player of the season. So wonderful one as well. And I'm going to take the vast unpopular one to show some support to my captain. And I think because of the combination of the defensive qualities that his two midfield partners have, I think he's going to be freed up a little bit forward. He's going to have better runners. He's going to have a healthy Ben White playing behind him. Again, he's going to have Bukayo Saka playing in front of him, and a very, very fast runner. So short and sweet, I'm going with our Captain Odegaard.
Wow.
And, okay. How about you, Chris?
I cannot wait for BX to respond to that one.
Yeah. You know what? He hasn't been in the live chat for a little bit, so I want to make sure if he's there, this is going to be the one that gets him. But considering the high amounts of let's call them cookies that he had earlier today, my bet is he's sleeping right now.
That might be it, and that's totally fine. That's why you broke out the Odegaard shout.
Yeah. See, I did Odegaard when he was at Dairy Queen making the run. Odegaard again when he's sleeping. I'm just trying to slip this in. I'm trying to avoid his wrath in the live chat.
He's going to be so pissed when he hears this back tomorrow. I mean, I went over the top on Saka for highest scorer. I think he's winning Player of the Year, but I kind of tend to pick him every season. So as long as he stays healthy, he's our best player. I don't see anybody else getting it. And I mean, we all know that the secret to us winning the league this season is can we score enough goals when it matters? And if we do, it'll largely be down to Saka. So Saka it is for me. Who did Kelly pick? My phone went off. Looks like Rice for Kelly, which again, good shout. Our
I almost Rice.
What do you say?
I said I almost said Declan Rice myself. Again, like I said, Chris, zero preparation on my end. I saw that. I'm like, we're gonna go with vibes tonight and see what we say. I was really split, but the Odegaard thing, it was a conspiracy that's been boiling in my head, to say the very least. What's next, Chris?
Oh, well, we're moving into our predictions for the league, for who's getting relegated, for Champions League, FA Cup winner, League Cup winner, and hottest take. So I've prepared answers for some of these, not all of these. So some of this will be off the cuff. Some of this will be very well thought through. Mike, who are your top four in order? If you want to start with number 4, so you build some suspense. So go from 4, 3, 2, and then 1. I would love to hear it.
I feel like the top 3 are established. The biggest talking point is that top 4. Shit, you know what? I was listening to Arsblog today, and somebody said Chelsea, and then somebody said, "Well, if it's not Chelsea, whom?" And I thought about it, and I can't think of a name. Like, I can't think of a dark horse. I literally just said that the top 3 pulled away from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Not a knock, and I'm not taking the piss out of United. And I know they've had, they have Amorim that was successful in Portugal, and I know they bought a new front 3, but I think that their problems go slightly deeper than just the front 3. Like, the goalkeeper and defending, and to thank some of the midfield players that they still continue to have, has been slightly a joke for a club the size of United.
Yes,
that's a backhanded compliment, but it's still a compliment. So I'm going to go with Chelsea 4th.
Yep.
Manchester City 3rd.
Ooh, and then drum roll.
No, you know what, dude? Chelsea, Liverpool 3rd, City 2nd, Arsenal 1st.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right, boys.
It's coming home. Do we say that? Do we say that about club football?
It's coming home to the N5.
Wow. Get excited. I mean, I hope you're right, Mike. Usually you're wrong, as people like to tell you, but hopefully in this situation you're right.
About you, Chris? How are you looking?
Oh, man. Well, let me ask you this before I give you mine, Mike, because I put a poll out.
Let me answer your question with another question.
Well, I don't want to forget to ask you this, because I think this is maybe one of the more compelling non-top 4 conversations to have, and that is that 2 of our most hated rivals were terrible last season. Spurs finished 1 place above relegation. United finished in 15th. They had a hilarious Europa League final. Not hilarious in the fact that who won it, but hilarious in the fact that it almost looked like they were both trying to lose it at the same time. And there had to be one winner, and unfortunately it was Spurs. But both have done some business this summer. I think maybe United had done more, but I think Spurs have done the more important business, which is the head coach, the manager, and Thomas Frank, not Frank Thomas, to be fair. I rate him. I think I was kind of upset that they finally figured out a coach who knows what he's doing and doesn't have the ego that can manage the kind of the craziness of managing Tottenham Hotspur. But I'm curious, Mike, where are you at in terms of which of those 2 teams is most improved this season? Do you think that United's investment in their front line, where they, have a well-regarded striker now, although he's young, and they bought two of the more prolific strikers, or two of the more prolific forwards, shall I say, from the Premier League last season in Mbumo and Cunha. Is that enough to improve more than Spurs, or do you think Spurs just have more about them in terms of their squad construction and what they got going on at the manager position?
No, I think that they also signed the midfielder that was really good at Fulham. He's coming back from Germany, right? Fulham, Bellingham. Yeah, no, I think,
Yep.
yeah, they have him, and unfortunately, the rumor is if it's not Arsenal, it's potentially Spurs, and I'm kind of speculating on the Eze future here. But I think I rate now I can't remember if it's Frank Thomas or Thomas Frank because I'm confused with Ryan's Thomas Frank. There you go. Thank you. I rate him really highly, and it sucks that he's there. He has a fairly decent proven track record with teams the size ish around Spurs, and again, backhanded compliment, but still compliment because I think I could comfortable if you told me my guaranteed Europa League, which is fifth or sixth, if I'm not mistaken, Conference League is seventh and eighth, right?
Yes, that's right. Seventh, just
yeah.
seventh.
I don't want to say it, but I kind of feel like the history of the Tottenham is going to keep them at a top four, but I do think they're going to finish, top six.
Yeah, they might. I think that's right. And I think United's probably looking at like right around 10th, like squarely mid-table. I think I agree with that. I think there's something to be said for a manager who can simply do the basics of making you defensively solid and organized. And I just don't think they've had that. They didn't have that in Ange. He was chaos ball personified. Could not organize a defense to save his life.
Yeah.
And I think if they get Eze, they will be adding a lot of much needed creativity, especially with Madison going down with an ACL. Kudus, I don't necessarily rate that highly, but he's a really good dribbler. He's a little bit like what's the guy that we used to make fun of all the time? He's played for Wolves and then Fulham, Adama Traore. Like he's a bag of tricks, but when it comes to like actually putting the ball in the back of the net, he doesn't do it that well. But I think he'll create some chaos in the defense. I think Eze will, if they get him, will add a lot of goal output. And they need that because I think their vulnerability is I don't know where they're going to get their goals from. They don't have a lot of goal scorers in that pitch. There's no Harry Kane. There's no Heung-min Son anymore.
Son left, yeah. Dude, you're bigging them up so much. Are we preparing to put them in the top four, Chris?
No,
where your head on this one? Okay.
So all that to say, Spurs are going to finish 12th. No, I'm just kidding. I have Chelsea finishing fourth. My dark horse for that fourth spot is Brighton. They did lose João Pedro, but I just think that they do a really good job of reloading. They're not going to be losing Baleba. Reports came out today that United are not going to buy him this summer because Brighton's asking price is too high. So I think he's important from a defensive midfield perspective. I think it's a really important part of the pitch in modern football, and the fact that they're going to keep him in another year of development, I think, is really important for them. I just like what they do, and I think they're always an outside shot at top four, especially when they don't have to compete on multiple fronts and they're not in Europe. So I think they have every chance of doing that. So Chelsea fourth, just by default. I just think there's too much talent there not to get fourth, and if they don't, I think the manager's gone. So I'm going to say City third. I just think there's too much turnover there for them to recreate the magic of a lot of the players that have gone, mostly because they're too old, like Kevin De Bruyne, for example. That's a massive personality and a massive talent to replace. And while they've done quite good from a talent standpoint, I don't know how that's all going to gel. Sadly, and this is my head over my heart, I think we're going to finish second again, which is just jokes galore. Finishing second 4 seasons in a row. But especially if Liverpool get Isak, no matter how vulnerable that defense looks, I just think if you can score 3 or 4 goals every game, it doesn't really matter if you give up 2. And I know it's hard to repeat in the Premier League, but I think it's going to be really close. I would not be surprised if we win it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we didn't. And unfortunately, I just think, I don't know, something tells me that, and this is probably me protecting my own fears that we're going to come second again. But I just, from my head perspective, I think we finished second, unfortunately. So Liverpool, Arsenal, City, and of course my thing is not working anymore. And Chelsea.
Okay. Just thank goodness BX Schooner came back right now and didn't hear what I said a little bit earlier. I'll tell you, Kelly, for reference and being on the podcast, we could always come back and listen to this. Oh, you got it covered. I'll wait for you to type that up so you can get ready to type up. We got fourth. He actually has Newcastle, which big shout for Kelly right there. Third, wow. He has Arsenal third. And then
he's protecting himself from the horror of Arsenal finishing second again. That's the only reason.
It's better to finish third than to finish second. Okay,
that's Twitter logic.
That's Twitter logic right there, and that's champion. He has Liverpool.
Wow.
Okay, for relegation, I'll give it short and sweet for Kelly. He has the three teams that came up, which is Leeds, Sunderland, and Burnley. I am no longer going to badmouth Everton like I did last season. I think I had them on a historical low. I'm gonna say fuck. What's my third random one? I'm gonna say Leeds, Burnley, and I'm gonna throw in fuck. I'll throw in Bournemouth.
Wow.
It's either Bournemouth or Fulham. I was trying to come up with, but I'm gonna spare Sunderland.
Fulham. Wow, that's.
It's you know what it is because
you hate Iwobi and Emile Smith Rowe. I get it.
Yes. You know what it is? Is it Bukai? What's his name? Granit Xhaka is going to keep Sunderland up because I'm a romantic, Chris. That's why.
Yes, I was about to say you're a Xhaka lover, so
pick up that kit for sure.
I just think that the gap between the Premier League and the promoted teams is expanding, and while Sunderland has spent a ton of money, I don't know that any of them are going to make the difference outside of Granit Xhaka. I mean, it's like Granit Xhaka and a bunch of kids who he's never met or heard of before. I think if any of the promoted teams stay up, I think it's going to be Leeds. I just think that they're the most Premier League ready, but I don't think they will. If they manage to survive, I think it's either Wolves or West Ham, and I would love to see West Ham relegated. I would love to see West Ham relegated because they look terrible. And
can I copy BX Schooner's question? Can I copy his homework and swap out Bournemouth for Wolves?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Just like because I could picture the angry bald white dude pounding on the window,
having a coronary.
Yeah, that's how I see that going on. Yeah. All right, time for the Champions League. This is a big one right here, Chris. What say you, my friend?
I hate saying this. I think it's hard to win back to back. So while I think PSG has a lot of talent, and I hate saying this. I think it's Barcelona.
No way, dude. I was gonna say Barca too. Holy shit, no way.
I mean, they made the final this year. They don't have. I mean, Yamal might become this guy, but they don't have like a true superstar that everything has to like work just perfectly for, or that the team has to carry, like Real Madrid have to do with Mbappe, for example. I don't think Bayern's nearly the team they used to be. I think the other two teams that could compete, or the other team that could compete is Liverpool and maybe us. I just don't know that we can compete on two fronts again. Maybe we will. Maybe we've got the squad to do it. Maybe we'll go deep and pull off the deep run. I mean, we went to the semifinals with all those injuries, and I think we competed well against PSG. We just didn't have the finishers to do it. So maybe an outside chance that we do it, but until we do it, I have a hard time making us the favorites as much as I would love to. So I'm going to say Barcelona, but maybe it's Barcelona. I would hate to see Barcelona in the final and lose to them. I'll say we make the semifinals with Barcelona winning it. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, for variety, we for variety, we're gonna get knocked out by Barcelona or Bayern Munich.
Exactly.
For variety, you know what? I'm. You took Barcelona. I don't think it's gonna be us because history. So I'm gonna give this one to Liverpool.
Oh, great.
Ah,
Wait,
that feels dirty saying that.
it does.
Yeah. See, Kelly went with the traditional Real Madrid, which is they were bad last season because they had like the entire back line plus their backups
Yep.
injured. So
Yep.
I'm not going to say it's completely out of left field. It's probably really sensible to think that way. They have the new manager in place. We all know Ancelotti already left, and they're about to get a healthy team. So,
Yep.
Curious to see how that plays out for them.
Yep.
Remind me who's managing Real Madrid right now. Xabi Alonso. Alonso. Yeah,
Xabi Alonso,
it makes even more sense when you said that. Okay,
Yep.
FA Cup winner, Chris.
I have us.
You have us. I like that.
We are the 14-time FA Cup champions, the most in England. It is our cup, and we have to win something this season. And if we're not going to win the Champions League, and God, I hope we win the league. I would love a double. God, if we won the Premier League or the Champions League and the FA Cup, that would be an unbelievable season. But let's just win one trophy this year for starts. And why not the FA Cup? So I had to give us a trophy this year, and the one we know how to win most is the FA Cup. So Arsenal. What do you think, Mike?
I'm sorry, you caught me reading Kelly's right there. Kelly also went with the Arsenal. I just found that. Yeah.
Did he?
He went with the Arsenal.
He did. You're right.
Manchester City is going to win. I have to give them a trophy. They can't go trophyless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say Manchester City. I think I think we're going to be so I think it's a chip on our shoulder, and that's why I think I'm so hell-bent on the league. I don't think intentionally, but kind of inadvertently and subconsciously, I think the team's going to prioritize the league. I don't know if that's even something that could be like trained or spoken about in within a squad, but I think the play, like, I think it's just something you feel. I feel like this is a monkey that they need to get off their back, and they're well established that they're our players and our managers have been kind of speaking it into existence, right? They continuously say it's time. We all know what we have to do. So I feel like they're speaking into existence, and I think the vibes were good. League Cup winner. I like this one. And look, dude, I'm going to give, just because I gave some flowers to United earlier, I'm not allowed to say Spurs. So I'm going to say United.
Oh, wow. Good Lord. So we're winning the league. Okay. You guys winning. You see us winning one. I'll use City here. I think Manchester City is really good at winning the League Cup. We are not. We've won it, I think, twice or 3 times in our history. They've won it quite a few times more. What the FA Cup is to us, the League Cup is to Manchester City. So I think that's what they'll do. Kelly has he has City as well.
Yeah, do your homework.
All right. Last one. Do you want to do this one, Mike?
Yeah, Chris, I will. I'm sorry, just looking at Kelly's notes. He has UCL Palace. What the fuck is like
Conference League?
Conference League. Okay,
we don't care about the Conference League.
Okay, that one we didn't have that on the list, so he really threw that one off me. See, Spurdy say Newcastle. I like that for the League Cup. It's going to be the Isaac remontada, and he's going to come back and score some goals.
Kelly loves Palace so much that he just wanted to find the competition that Palace would win. So
Palace winning the FA Cup and the Community Shield is such a beautiful fucking, like,
it is.
You again, as a romantic of the sport, you almost forget how beautiful football can be,
especially with how they were done dirty by UEFA.
Yes, absolutely. Hottest take, you say?
Yes.
Ooh, now this one I wish I would have put some thoughts. I feel like you already used the hottest take as far as fucking mentioning Kai Havertz is going to be deployed at 10 instead of Odegaard.
Oh yeah.
Well,
it doesn't have to be Arsenal related if you want to make it like world football related. It's up to you.
Hot take. Do you have one prepared, Chris?
I mean, I came up with one. I don't know if it's all that hot, but I can do it.
Go for it.
I think there will be another big financial scandal with a big club this season. I'm not saying it's in the Premier League, but in one of the top 5 leagues. Maybe not to the extent of Manchester City and 115 charges, but some big club will get charged with some massive financial charges of some sort. And then the investigation will go on forever, and they'll never actually get found guilty, because that seems to be what happens with big clubs. So
yeah, shame. Just on that note, Chris, shame on the fucking league for not giving supporters clarity, and not only supporters that are like rivals to Manchester City, even their own supporters, to not give them clarity going into another season, having already had the verdict and everything set. Shame on the fucking league for being so poorly organized. That's what I'll say.
Yep.
Chris, I'm trying to come up with something insane for you, and I'm struggling.
It's all good.
I'm struggling, and I wish I put some.
When in doubt, say something crazy about Spurs or Chelsea.
Spurs make semifinal. No.
Oh my God! No, not that direction.
Okay. Well, two. I went too far. Okay.
You're gonna get clipped up and circulated around Twitter, Mike. Come on. Have some decorum.
I was gonna go something funny like Harry Kane scores a hat trick versus Spurs in the Champions League, but that's not a hot take.
That's hilarious.
I would fucking love that to happen.
I mean, I think you should go with that.
Let's shoot, man.
And then he knee slides in front of I don't know, who do you play with that's still on Spurs?
Hey, he knee slides in front of Frank Thomas somehow. I don't know. I don't know how, but it's gonna happen. Man, I'm gonna come back to this. We're gonna have to readjust this when I have some sleeps and I can come up with a better hot take on this one. Yeah, I think last year my hot take was I massacred Everton, seeing that they were gonna break like the point tally as far as the most lowest one. I still think that in modern football, somebody's gonna break that tally. I think like somebody's gonna have less than I think it was like 15 points. I do truly believe that that's gonna be something that happens.
We'll see.
All right. Well, Chris, this is the reason why we started early. It's been a very long podcast. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. Kelly did not answer this one because this is another one that we added at the very last minute. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, he's not going to be able to answer. Live chat, you have been awesome. I know it's super late. I know it's Friday night, and a lot of you people actually have social lives. Chris somehow just magically dropped out of stream, and it's just left me. Oh, he's coming back right now. He couldn't face me after. I
don't know what happened.
I know. I was like, oh well, I lost him. Live chat, you've been awesome. BX Schooner, thanks you for joining us. Arse Blogs, Freddie J, all of you guys, Ray Anderson. I know it's super late and it's Friday, and you guys all stuck out with us. Really do appreciate that. I've been Mike Kurz, your host. My good friend Chris has been with me for the last 2+ hours in this crazy season preview. You can find him at West Suburban AFC if you ever want to argue and you find yourself bored on the Twitters. That is for sure. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as you guys know, for the Audioheads, and YouTube. Again, hopefully we're back on our regular scheduled program on a Tuesday. We're going to be talking about the Man United game, which is an epic opener. Here's to a good season, Chris. Cheers.
5-0 Arsenal at Old Trafford. Here we come.
5-0 Arsenal. I love it. All right, Yoko's hat tricks. Dunks on celebration in front of Sheshko, who will be on the bench. That's what I'm going with. Cheers, boys. Good night.
Right foot this time, Martin Odegaard.
Zinchenko from Ketty. Martinelli tiptoeing in. Predatory, perfect. There is a gorgeous arrogance about Arsenal now.
It really is. They are enjoying every second of this.